Hi guys. So you took your test, or you are taking your test this week about comparing and contrasting two texts from a series. We are now going to be talking about figurative language. And figurative language is language that you don't take literal. So like idioms and hyperboles and personification, these are all parts of figurative language. So like an idiom is like, it's raining cats and dogs. Well, you know that when you hear that, it's not really raining cats and dogs. It just means it's raining really hard. So we're going to read a book, Amelia Bedelia, because Amelia Bedelia is a character that takes everything literal. She does not understand figurative language at all. So as we read today, I might be stopping and we're going to talk about, what she took literally and what she should not have. What she should know is figurative language, and it has a different meaning, that it is not literally raining cats and dogs. So I'm going to read the book. We're going to stop and listen and talk about the literal things in the book and the figurative things in the book. Oh, Amelia Bedelia, your first day of work, and I can't be here, but I made a list for you. You do just what the list says, said Mrs. Rogers. Mrs. Rogers got into the car with Mr. Rogers, and they drove away. My, what nice folks. I'm going to like working here, said Amelia Bedelia. Amelia Bedelia went inside. Such a grand house. These must be rich folks. But I must get to work. Here I stand just looking, and me with a whole list of things to do. Amelia Bedelia stood there a minute longer. I think I'll make a surprise for them. I'll make lemon meringue pie. I do make good pies. So Amelia Bedelia went into the kitchen. She put a little of this, a pinch of that, into a bowl. She mixed and she rolled. Soon her pie was ready to go into the oven. There, said Amelia Bedelia, that's done. Now, let's see what this list says. Amelia Bedelia read, change the towels in the green bathroom. Amelia Bedelia found the green bathroom. Those towels are very nice. Why change them, she thought. Then Amelia Bedelia remembered what Mrs. Rogers had said. She must do just what's on the list. Well, all right, said Amelia Bedelia. Amelia Bedelia got some scissors. She snipped a little here and a little there, and she changed those towels. Oh dear. So, when someone asks you to change the towels, that generally means put those towels in the dirty clothes and get clean towels and put them back. But Amelia Bedelia took that literal, and she's deciding to literally change the towels into something else. So let's see what she does next. There, said Amelia Bedelia. She looked at her list again. Dust the furniture. Did you ever hear tales of such a silly thing? At my house, we undust the furniture, but to each his own. Amelia Bedelia took one last look at the bathroom. She saw a big box with the words dusting powder on it. Well, look at that, a special powder to dust with, exclaimed Amelia Bedelia. So Amelia Bedelia dusted the furniture. That should be dusty enough. My, how nice it smells. All right, so normally when someone asks you to dust something, it means to take a cloth or a feather duster and get the dust off of the furniture. She's basically found baby powder and literally dusted the furniture. Next, draw the drapes when the sun comes in, read Amelia Bedelia. She looked up. The sun was coming in. Amelia Bedelia looked at the list again. Draw the drapes? That's what it says. I'm not much of a hand at drawing, but I'll try. So Amelia Bedelia sat right down and she drew those drapes. All right, when someone normally asks you to draw the drapes, that means to close them. So the sun's coming in, she's asking her to close the drapes so that the sun doesn't shine into the room. A lot of times when the sun shines in the room, it can cause your furniture to fade, etc. So people used to say draw the drapes so to keep the sunlight out, but she's literally drawing the drapes with a pencil and a piece of paper. Amelia Bedelia marked off about the drapes. Now what? Put the lights out when you finish in the living room. Amelia Bedelia thought about this a minute. She switched off the lights, then she carefully unscrewed each bulb. And Amelia Bedelia put the lights out. So those things need to be aired out too. Just like pillows and babies. Oh, I do have to learn a lot. You can see she has literally put the lights out. That, what she should have just done is turn the lights off, but she read that literally and she decided that she was going to put the lights out to dry. My pie! Exclaimed Amelia Bedelia. She hurried to the kitchen. Just right, she said. She took the pie out of the oven and put it on a table to cool. Then she looked at the list. Measure 2 cups of rice. That's next, said Amelia Bedelia. Amelia Bedelia found 2 cups. She filled them with rice. And Amelia Bedelia measured that rice. You see her here? So what she just should have done was use a measuring cup to measure her 2 cups, but now she's literally measuring how tall they are with a tape measurer. Why would you need to know that? That's a crazy girl. Amelia Bedelia laughed. These folks, they do want me to do so many funny things. Then she poured the rice back into the container. No. The meat market will deliver a steak and a chicken. Please trim the fat before you put the steak into the icebox, and please dress the chicken. When the meat arrived, Amelia Bedelia opened the bag and she looked at the steak. For a long time. Yes, she said, that will do nicely. Can you guess what she's going to do to the chicken? Amelia Bedelia got some lace and a bit of ribbon, and Amelia Bedelia trimmed the fat before she put the steak in the icebox. Now I must dress the chicken. I wonder if she wants it a he chicken or a she chicken, said Amelia Bedelia. Amelia Bedelia went right to work. Soon the chicken was finished. Oh, goodness. So, if she asked her to trim the steak, trim the fat off, what she was supposed to do was cut the fat off. But what she did instead was she outlined the steak with ribbon, because anytime you have fabric here or around like your wrists or whatever, that is your That's the trim of your clothes. So she's dressing the steak. And then she's obviously dressing the chicken. What she should have done was made some dressing for the chicken, like stuffing that you're going to eat with your chicken. Amelia Bedelia heard the door open. "The folks are back," she said. She rushed out to meet them. "Amelia Bedelia, why are all the light bulbs outside?" asked Mr. Rogers. "The list just said to put the lights out," said Amelia Bedelia. "It didn't say to bring them back in. Oh, I do hope they didn't get aired too long." "Amelia Bedelia, the sun will fade the furniture. I asked you to draw the drapes," said Mrs. Rogers. I did, see," said Amelia Bedelia. She held up her picture. Then Mrs. Rogers saw the furniture. "The furniture!" she cried. "Did I dust it well enough?" asked Amelia Bedelia. "That's such nice dusting powder." Mr. Rogers went to wash his hands. "I say," he called, "these are very unusual towels." Mrs. Rogers dashed into the bathroom. "Oh, my best towels," she said. "Didn't I change them enough?" asked Amelia Bedelia. Mrs. Rogers went to the kitchen. "I'll cook the dinner. Where's the rice I asked you to measure?" "I put it back in the container, but I remembered it measured 4.5 inches, said Amelia Bedelia. "Was the meat delivered?" asked Mrs. Rogers. "Yes," said Amelia Bedelia. "I trimmed the fat just like you said. It does look nice." Mrs. Rogers rushed into the icebox. She opened it. "Lace? Ribbons? Oh dear," said Mrs. Rogers. "The chicken? You dressed the chicken?" asked Mrs. Rogers. "Yes, and I found it the nicest box to put him in," said Amelia Bedelia. "Box?" exclaimed Mrs. Rogers. Mrs. Rogers hurried over to the box. She lifted the lid. There lay the chicken, and he was just as dressed as he could be. Mrs. Rogers was angry. She was very angry. She opened her mouth. Mrs. Rogers meant to tell Amelia Bedelia that she was fired, but before she could get the words out, Mr. Rogers put something in her mouth. It was so good, Mrs. Rogers forgot about being angry. "Lemon meringue pie!" she exclaimed. "I made it to surprise you," said Amelia Bedelia happily. So right then and there, Mr. and Mrs. Rogers decided that Amelia Bedelia must stay. And so she did. Mrs. Rogers learned to say, undust the furniture, unlight the lights, close the drapes, and things like that. Mr. Rogers didn't care if Amelia Bedelia trimmed all of his steak with lace. All he cared about was having her there to make lemon meringue pie. Okay, so Amelia Bedelia is someone who takes everything literally. What you're going to be doing all this week, next week, and we'll see what happens after that, you're going to do an idiom of the day. And on your idiom of the day, you are going to read the idiom. You're going to tell me, what does it really mean? Don't take it literal. And you're going to use it in a sentence. So we're going to be practicing all of this figurative language. So we're going to be doing idioms, but then we're also going to be practicing doing like personification. That's where you give an inanimate object, like a table, human-like qualities. So you might say, these legs of the table are getting so old, they might need a cast, something like that. And then a hyperbole, which is my favorite, is when you exaggerate things. Because you know I do this all the time. I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys are asking me 100 million questions. No, you're not really asking me that many questions, are you? But I love to exaggerate some stuff. I love a good hyperbole. Similes, it's when you compare two things using like or as, right? She is sweet as pie. Or a metaphor is when you say something is something else. So I'm just a dark cloud in this classroom, right? And we'll talk about more. So just want to introduce that, and you guys can go ahead and watch the video to better understand idioms and do your idiom of the day. All right. Love you. Talk to you later. Bye.